Hello everybody and welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to be talking about how to build roads in Minecraft and how to build like nice ones, not just like a couple of path blocks. So the first thing you want to think about when you are building a road is what style is your building. So I'm assuming you're going to be connecting two buildings with your road. Is your building like a medieval style? Or is it like in a really modern or like fantasy vibe? Like what style is your building? Because this is gonna help decide the style of the road. So in my mind, there is a spectrum of sort of roads you can make, and obviously some like lie outside that spectrum, but you've got your cottagecore sort of vibe, like very in touch, a very naturey vibe, right? It's like a paved path. It's like it's been made by being trodden on, right? Sort of like this. Obviously, there'd be more like grass and greenery, but there's something like this, which is very in touch with nature. And then you get your, in the middle of the spectrum, you get your gravel, you get your tuff, you get your coral, something like this. And it's distinctly naturey, but it's very dead. So like majority would be like gravel, and then you'd have tuff, give it a bit of different shades and colors, and then you've got your coral, your dead coral, and that's sort of like a dead but still naturey vibe, and that would be like in the middle of the spectrum. And then you could do something like this, which had like gravel and coarse dirt more mixed into it and all of that. But this would be about the middle of the spectrum for me. And then you would have your paved road. Actually, no, this is about like a quarter of the way across the spectrum. And then you would have your paved road. This is still affected by weather, and it's very like very modern. This is sort of what we have today. Although depending on where you are, it may look a little bit different depending on how long it's been there and all those things. But it looks visibly affected by the weather. Here I've only used the cracked bricks, and I've used the black stone, which just makes it look a little bit trodden on. And you would probably pair that with a stone pavement. So this is a road similar to what you'd find in a lot of city landscapes that people have made. And it would look like this. So we've gone from very in touch with nature, very windy and naturey, I guess, to naturey but it's dead, to we're in an industrial city. And then you would have your modern roads, which do not look affected by weather. They are very clean and sleek. They don't look like they've ever been trodden on. This is like your futuristic sort of road. But like very futuristic, it looks sleek and shiny and all of those sorts of things. So in my mind, this is the sort of spectrum that you're looking at when you want to build a road. And this should like pair up nicely with your builds. So you probably shouldn't be building like a cottagecore like farmhouse and have this as your road. It just doesn't fit. It's like if you put that in, that'd be like an anachronism. It'd just look really out of place. So if you're building something cottagecore, medieval, you'd probably go with something like that. If you're building steampunk, you'd probably go with something like this. If you're building like old-fashioned but not quite like cottagecore or super naturey, you might build this. This could also work for medieval. And then if you're building futuristic or like dystopian, you could go for this. Or if you're going for like modern but like slightly in the future, you could go for this. It depends on your vision for your build and how it fits in. So the next thing you want to think about once you discovered or like identified which one you want to really go with or what sort of theme you want to go with for your road, you want to think about the shape and direction of your road. Is it a windy road? Is your road just gonna go around and wind like following the landscape? Or is it gonna be straight? This sort of road would probably look best being straight or like curved, like going around a corner. This road could be either, I don't think it would particularly be super curvy, but you could make it curvy. But yeah, you want to think about the shape of your road and like the direction that it's going in. So is it going straight? Is it eventually needing to lead straight, or is it going to go off to the side? Where do you want your road to be? I like to mark where I want my roads to be using wool. So if I wanted my road to come off this way, I would probably use wool to mark that down, or I might just put a bunch of blocks every couple of blocks, and then when I want it to turn, I'd put another couple blocks here. Mark out where you want your road to go, because then it'll make it a lot easier to actually make the road and make it go where you want it to if you're like linking up the dots that you've made with your wool or whatever block you choose to use. So you've sort of chosen the look of your build, but what particular blocks are you going to use? So for something like this, you do have fairly limited options. You've got sort of like your coarse dirt, podzol maybe, dripstone perhaps, and then you've got obviously your dirt path. So this would be the sort of block palette you're looking at. But you could change that. You could make it majority dirt path, and you could make it a little bit of coarse dirt, and you could add some gravel in there. Think about what you want to do, or you could have a leaf path. So you could use, actually spruce leaves look the best I think for this. So you could have leaves and then dirt. So those are just some possible color palettes or like block palettes that you might use for a road that looks like that is that sort of style. And then with this, obviously you've got your gravel, and then your tuff, and then your coral, but you could also use all of the corals. So you could mix in all of the corals, or you could use this coral with gravel. And they're just some possible options, or you could even just do some gravel with some coarse dirt, just something like that. You need to think about the color palette. For this sort of road, you could do fully black stone. That works pretty well here, so it would be majority actual black stone, then polished black stone, and a bit of cracked polished bricks. Or you could go with deep slate, since they added that in. You could go with cracked deep slate bricks and cobbled deep slate, and then a little bit of polished deep slate and normal deep slate, which is a really nice color palette. So you go cracked deep slate, all of these, because they are, that one doesn't really fit in, it's a bit dark. And then you could add in some basalt to that if you wanted. Smooth basalt and normal basalt. You don't need this many colors. You could just go with deep slate, smooth basalt, polished, and then normal basalt facing upwards, and that's a nice palette. And then for this, you could go crazy. It's modern. Use whatever builds you want, whatever blocks you want. But when you are thinking about your block palette, the roads need to look, unless they're very futuristic, they need to look like they are affected by weather and the vehicles that go on the roads. They need to look like, especially the more naturey they are, they need to look trodden on and affected by the weather. So if you're building like a desert road, you would want something cracked in there because it is hot and the roads crack in the heat. So there are exceptions for futuristic builds because they look like they've just been made, and in the future you would assume that they would have gotten past the need for things to get broken, but it depends what you're going for. But your builds need to look trodden on, which is why like gravel is such a good use, because it looks like it's been trodden on. It's such a good block for this. And then the path blocks, obviously they are path blocks, so how do you make paths? You step on places a lot. But the roads need to look like they are affected by the external forces. So once you've actually built your road, they need to have some life. So if you're building a road like this, you might want to put in like a tram, or you want to put in cars, or if you're building something like this, you might want a horse and cart, or you might want like armor stand people here. You really want to populate your builds with details. So you could even add in trapdoors on the road, in the middle of the road, to look like vents. One of my favorite things to do for city builds like this is to add in lights, street lights, because they make the build look a little bit more alive. Populate your builds with details, and they'll just look so much better and so much more lived in and inviting, and just give so much more life to the build. The best builds that you can make are ones that grab your attention by something big and then hold your attention with details. I hope this video helped you. I hope this sort of spectrum of different roads that you could make helped you. If you did enjoy the video, leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, leave a comment if any particular road idea helped you, and I will see you very soon for another video.